All right, as promised, we'll have a very interesting episode here. We're here with Stefhen Bryan,
Oh yeah.
author of Respect,
Yes.
author of Black Passenger Yellow Cabs. If you haven't read it, I encourage. It's very great. Shows how intelligent he is.
Oh my, was.
I had to check some definitions of some of the words in this book. So thank you very much for joining
Thanks
me
for
here.
having me. No. Thanks for having me. Dude, you came all the way from Tokyo on the train. I'm honored. I can't
Kobe.
believe that, 13 years later, this book is still relevant. So I'm moved.
I read this book the first time in 2015.
Right.
So it's been a long anticipated meeting, actually.
Thank you. Thanks
All right.
for the opportunity. Thanks for having me.
So we spoke a lot off air about various topics.
Right.
We're going to get into it. So please brace yourselves because this is not going to be
Yes, fasten your
usual
seatbelts.
thing. Yeah.
Fasten your seatbelts.
All right,
Not for the
so-
weak at heart. If you are a prudish person, then you might want to tune out right now. Go to a
Right.
different podcast.
You can click off now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
All right. So start off with telling us about your background, upbringing, where you're from.
I was born and raised in Jamaica. I left Jamaica when I was 15, a long time ago, 1980. So you can do the math.
Math.
I'm 58. So I was raised in Kingston 16,
Right.
Which is Brownstown, Passmore Town. Wild street. In fact, I lived at one wild street, Kingston 16, and I used to get teased about the address.
Why? Oh, Wild Street.
It's
okay.
one wild street,
Yeah, that's pretty
enough
wild.
gunshot and enough killing and enough man dead, and yeah, I grew up with that. So then I went to the States when I was 15,
Yeah.
to Yonkers, New York, and I spent about 3 months in Yonkers, New York, and I went to Colorado after that
Mhm.
for a few years, like 4 years, and then moved to California. And then after that, I went to the UK, and then I went back to America, and then went to the University, College of San Mateo in San Mateo, Northern California, and then UCLA in Southern California. And came to Japan in 2001.
I never left or left. Thank you.
Yeah, I left, and I kept coming back. I left when I wrote this book. First time I came to Japan, I was here from 2001 to 2008. Wrote the book, went back to America, came back to Japan 16.
Came back to
18.
Japan because you couldn't get enough.
Because once you live in Japan, the thing is that once you live in Japan, you can't left.
Okay.
It's like that girlfriend that the boom you just can't, you just can't left. You can't left it, So nothing else I come back. So 2016 to 18, and then go back to California, and then we'll come back last year, March 2021.
Okay. All right. So we're gonna dig deep into some of the aspects of this book. So, what would you like to start off with? I leave the choice up to you.
No man, you start the thing, man. You're a thing in my youth. I mean, you're a thing, man. I mean, you are the leader for this.
All right, let's jump into it. Homelessness. Get into that. You said you were homeless for 3 months.
I was homeless when I first left the countryside,
Mhm.
Wakayama.
Wakayama.
Yes.
Okay.
And I came to Kobe. I was homeless for about 3 weeks. I don't think it's about 3 months. I was
Oh,
homeless
3
in-
weeks.
I was
Okay.
homeless in America for about 3 months when I was doing my college years. But in Japan, I was sleeping at Harborland. Have you been to Harborland since you came?
No, where's that? That's in this area.
Harborland, down by the sea, man, down by the waterfront.
Hopefully that was in the summertime though.
Yes, it
Okay.
was in the summertime. So I was
Winter would have been rough.
I was sleeping on the benches, the park benches, for about 3 weeks.
Did you meet any women while sleeping on the park benches?
I didn't. I didn't because I was at the time just very concerned about finding a place to live.
Oh, okay.
So at the time, though Punani was on my mind, which it always is,
Mhm.
it wasn't at the forefront of my thought at the time because I knew that once I got a place to live, then I can go back to thinking about.
All right. So, what inspired writing the book? What was the biggest inspiration? Like, you had the experiences here, and then you're like, okay, let me put all these experiences. A lot of experiences, by the way. Let me put all these, or some of these. This is not all, right?
No,
Just- Let me put some of these into a book. What inspired that decision?
I turned 40, and I was reflecting. It all started from reflection.
Mhm.
40, sit down in my apartment. I'm saying, blows and scream. I come from Jamaica, from ghetto, from Dunkirk, and with the Yasuno, Kobe, Japan.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? So I'm like, I'm 40 years old, and I'm thinking about the things that I've gone through, Jamaica to the US, the UK, Japan, and these experiences. I'm gonna just start right.
Okay.
So it started from just reflection. of the things that I've overcome, the difficulties of the challenges, the trauma that I've experienced, and the good times and the joyous times. And I just started writing.
Right. One of the things we mentioned off camera was the fact that you put all your stories, you pretty much put yourself out there, and there's no veil, no cover. You just put yourself like showing the world the real you. A lot of persons are unwilling to do that, myself included, hiding behind a veil of wanting to look good to society.
Right.
What would you say to people like that?
I would say just get over that. I don't give a care what nobody think about me. I don't care what nobody think about me. Cause them not pay my rent, them not pay my mortgage, them not feed my picnic. You know business when you say about me. So if me, well, the mic all right? I must drop off to go. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Continue.
In a business. So in my case now, I had like 16 years of cognitive behavioral therapy.
Right? All right. Okay.
And from like 23 years old, I think I wrote about it in the book. It's the time after I was planning on killing my daughter and killing myself.
Yeah,
when she was about 9 months old.
Yeah.
So those years of therapy have allowed me to be okay with being vulnerable. Because I know so the same thing with me I write about, where people don't want to chat about.
Right.
Them I got through it too. Right? So by reading, when me write about, they can understand that they're not the only ones who are having those difficult, painful experiences.
Yeah.
And so they, in many ways, I help people to address their own personal issues. Especially when I do my show, man. When I do my solo play.
Do the boy. Check it out. Yeah.
Right. At the end of the show, people always come to me. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so glad you did this because I have the same experience.
Yeah.
And I thought I was the only one. I'm like, no, you're not. It's a universal thing. We're human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So please tell the viewers, what was the decision? Why you mentioned wanting to commit suicide along with your daughter. What was the reason for not doing that? In the book, you said you looked and the smile.
Yeah, yeah, I still sort of tear up from that memory. I just turned around. I'd driven. At the time, I had a gray Volkswagen Rabbit.
Rabbit, I don't know that.
That was 1988. She was 9 months old, and I drove to the bridge, and I knew I was going to throw her first, just to ensure that I have to go.
Yeah.
And I turned around to unbuckle her from her seat, and she gave me this Gumby, 2 teeth. She had 4 teeth them time there.
Yeah.
Her teethy smile, And I was like, oh God, I need to fucking see somebody.
It's very good that you didn't make that decision.
I need to fucking go and talk to somebody about this shit. So I aborted that plan.
Very excellent.
Kind of pun intended.
Yeah.
Because we're going to talk about abortion later.
Right. That's the next topic.
And I remember just taking her back home to her mother.
Her mom was probably clueless about.
Totally. I think everybody was clueless about that until I wrote about it.
Yeah. So people are suffering in silence. It's one thing like having those thoughts, but would you say it's better for people to express
it's
what they're going through?
Absolutely better to talk about it, even to total strangers.
Yeah.
Right? Even people think you're okay. So if you can't afford to go to therapy, you can't afford to. It's $100 an hour. Right? So if you can't, just chat to anybody on the street.
Yeah.
People don't think so, you're mad, but if you get it out,
definitely,
you're less likely to act on it.
Yeah.
Because you read about in the news in Japan all the time.
All the time.
Right? All the time. And I'm like, and people judge the people who are experiencing that. But I think to myself, thinking to oneself is a redundant. I think, I've been there. I understand that. I know how that person feels.
Yeah.
So get it out. Talk to people about it.
You mentioned depression a lot in the book about people in Japan being depressed, and would you say it's because of the work culture here, or?
Oh my God! It's not just the work culture in Japan. It's Japan as a whole. The structure of the society,
like everything people have to make decisions.
Yeah, man, everything is regimented in Japan.
Even the garbage, like you have to take off the caps.
God, everything, my youth, nothing left to class.
It's rigid.
The
It's rigid.
human being is an animal where we love freedom and we love fun things. We love
Yeah.
enjoyment. Japanese society is killjoy. It's
Yeah.
a killjoy society in every aspect. And so there's no wonder. And I grew up in an environment like that in Jamaica on the church commune.
Right.
It's
right,
like a mini Japan, right? Where everything was just regimented and like suppressed. And so if a human being grows up in that environment, he or she's gonna want to kill himself or kill some people and himself.
Is that why you became a sex addict in Japan?
I didn't become a sex addict in Japan. I think I was a sex addict before. I mean, I was sexualized at 7.
Yeah.
So
Back home.
in Jamaica. So my first piece of pum pum was like at 7 years old.
Wow.
And it was 2 girls. And so I've been.
But
just imagine that I'm depressed from 4 years old, right?
Yeah, and then that happened.
And then I get some at 7, the greatest thing in the world.
But you say you enjoyed it.
I did, of course I did.
Most Jamaican men would probably say, "Oh, this guy's living the dream."
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely, I was living the dream, and in fact, I'm going to admit that I was living the dream. It wasn't until I started therapy at 22 or 23 years old that I was made to realize that
It was a wrong move.
It was a wrong move. I was molested. Early sexualization is not good. Blah blah. I'm thinking it was good. I loved it. I mean,
So that's what caused a string of events leading to what ultimately happened.
absolutely.
Okay.
That my view on sex completely. I guess that shaped my view on sex and how I feel about sex.
Right, and you mentioned that you will see women, and first thing you think about, you see a pair of right.
First is what it would be like to have sex with her.
Right, and a lot of men will not admit that, but you're openly admitting it.
Since childhood. I mean, every woman. I've even talked about that in the book. Yeah, I mean, every woman that I see, and it's sort of toned down a little bit. 58 years old, but I still, or if I see like an older man right now, like in her 80s, I think about what she would have looked like
Back in the
day. I'm like, I probably would have loved to fuck that when she was like 30, 40, 50, but she's 80 now.
So if you were a 4-year-old or 6-year-old in Japan, and your mom brought you to the onsen, and it's just you and all these women in the onsen,
oh my God,
you'd have been paradise. Right?
I would have been in heaven.
So do you think the young boys here are thinking the same way, or?
I think that some of them are.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are. And it might not even, in my case, like I said, I was sexualized early. So,
Yeah.
But even before I was sexualized, I was sticking my hand up women's skirts, girls' skirts. And they thought it was funny, but I was having pleasure because my my teapot was like, was getting aroused. I was getting hard.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it probably depends on the genetic makeup of the boy. Some of them would probably be in heaven, and some of them would just be normal.
All right. Let's get into the abortion topic now.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like to talk about abortion, but
Yeah.
fortunately, we live in Japan.
So you're pro-abortion in the States recently. There's a lot of controversy about
man.
laws and things.
It's crazy. I just can't imagine living in a country where people are still talking about abortion. Abortion is still a problem for years now. Now, Japan abortion is a socially sanctioned form of birth control.
They put a price tag on it as well. That's
$1,200.
Yeah.
It's like $900 to $1,200.
Right.
No, $900 to $1,700. In some cases, it could be $2,000. But there's nobody fighting about it. At least there's nobody carrying placards going.
It's an industry, right?
It's an industry in Japan.
Yeah.
In 2021, 145,000 abortions were performed.
What?
145,000 abortions.
Whoa. And they have such a struggling population problem. You think that they just cut that
right? So you figure that you do the math: 145,000 abortions
per year.
$1,000 a pop. 140 million, 14, whatever. I don't do the math. I dropped out of high school, so I can't do this.
You see, so with that number, like when I just came to Japan in 2015, the population was 127 million. I was surprised that I was teaching, and the kids were like, "Oh, it's 125 now."
It's 125, yeah.
And I was like, "Wow, that's 2 million." Like that's the population of Jamaica just gone.
Gone. Yes.
So wouldn't the result, like changing that rule, like the abortion policy, don't you think that would be a good thing for Japan, like in terms of the population?
Well, I think given the fact that their society really frowns on single parenthood, they would. I mean, it's really shameful to be a single parent in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So no Japanese woman would wanting to be a baby mother.
Okay.
It's not gonna happen. So they'd much prefer, an abortion over.
Oh, okay. You mentioned being an ambassador for black men. Wouldn't the solution be? Some people joke about this. I'm not being serious right now. Oh, just taking like 1,000 Jamaican men and just throwing them in the middle of Tokyo and just saying, go and have fun. Would you think that would solve the problem?
I thought about that. But then again, Japan is not very welcoming,
Yeah.
100% to half Japanese people. You're not completely Japanese if you're not
Right.
100% Japanese. Now, nobody will admit this, directly,
Mhm.
but these kids or these people have these experiences that they can talk to you about.
Right.
So that indicates that the society is not really that welcoming to them. So that's one of the reasons. That's not a reason why we're not staying here until my child is an adult. But we're not going to be here until she's we're not going to be here past 11 years old.
And then there's biracial being with a black parent versus biracial being a white parent, which you spoke about.
Yes,
but
yeah.
we probably don't want to get too much into that.
Absolutely. The perception is totally different. One is welcome. The half-white parents, the half-white child, totally welcome in society.
Yeah.
And the half-black child is not that welcome.
All right. So let's not get too much into the whole racism part of the country.
Right. It's not about racism.
Yeah. So being an ambassador for black men here. If you're an ambassador for black men, wouldn't it mean that you're worried about how people view you? Like you said that you don't really care about but then you also mentioned that you're an ambassador. So speak about that a bit. If you're an ambassador, it means that when you walk, you want people to look at you and say, okay, that's a black man who is walking upright, looks like a nice guy, not creepy, not dangerous, which is a perception.
Yeah, but I'm not concerned about it to that extent. I'm more of an iconoclast, so to speak. I like it when people have these negative perceptions of me or these stereotypes of me.
I need to change it.
And then I go in and I just completely blast it. And they're like, hey, soon on this guy. I'm like, yeah, we don't play basketball, all of us. I hate sports.
Hip-hop music.
We don't exactly. We all don't dance. Do you do kung fu? Do you fucking, whatever. But I don't carry it around as a weight, because if I concern myself about it too much, it's going to stress me out. And then I'm going to suicide like that, right? Yeah. So I want to have some freedom. I want to be free to walk around and be myself. But at the same time, I'm aware of their perceptions of people who look like me. I'm aware of their perceptions of African people. Right. And so I want to go in and go out of my way to get in their faces and show them something different about African people.
Like that man in the elevator. don't say that only for me. Please talk about the camera. Because what?
So
this isn't in the book, by the way.
Yeah, it's not in the book. Yeah. So a few years ago, I was in an elevator in Asia. Asia is supposedly the Beverly Hills of Japan, but it's not. Trust me, because I lived in Asia for a while, and I could afford to live in Asia, but there's no way in hell I could afford to live in Beverly Hills. So anyway, I got in this elevator in Asia. This man comes into the elevator. He's coming into the elevator. He sees me, and he make a beeline, changes his mind, decides not to get in the elevator. He comes out. So I think, I love to play games with these people because I've had this situation before in LA where I went into a bank and this white woman was coming in the elevator and she saw me and she decided to come out. Anyway, and I played with her too and tormented her. So anyway, the guy jumps out of the elevator, or he decided not to come out of the elevator, come in the elevator. I go out of the elevator. Then so he decided to come back in the elevator. And I, being the asshole that I am, I jump back in the elevator as the door is about to close, and he's like, and
being the ambassador you are.
Ambassador, sorry, yes. Ambassador, is that close to asshole? No. being the asshole ambassador that I am, I jump back in the elevator as the doors are about to close, and he's like, I'm like, what's the money? I forgot something, and then I started talking to him in Japanese. I'm like, so genki desu ka? No, he. I'm like, okay, it's okay. Yeah, gaijin no kowaku nai yo. Daijoubu. So we started talking. We started having a conversation. Next thing you know, we exchange information. I start giving this guy English lessons, and about 6 months later, his wife.
You don't have to, if you don't want to. Yeah. You can leave that to your imagination.
Yeah. So this goes to show that, and that's he will probably never, be afraid of the next African he sees, because you'll remember, that dude is really.
Well, if he knew the entire story, he probably would be afraid.
Right?
He probably would avoid totally. But yeah.
Or you might think, that African guy would be good for my wife too.
Well, anyway, so let's get into Japanese society and how rigid things are. So you mentioned Mr. Donut with the milk, not being able to take out milk.
Dude, brethren, I just recreated that experiment 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, okay.
In a place called Obayashi.
Yeah.
Here in Takarazuka. Can I tell them where we are?
Yeah, we're in Kobe. Yeah,
we're in Kobe. Yeah. But Kobe.
Hmm.
I went.
No one will stalk you. Don't worry.
I went in with my child and ordered a donut, a glazed donut, with a cup of milk and ice to go. This is 2 weeks ago, and they said, "Yeah, you can get the glazed donut, but you can't get the milk to go."
And you negotiated.
And I negotiated.
How long did it negotiate?
It took me a while. And in this case, I failed.
Really?
Yeah.
2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
After how long? How long were you in there?
I was in there like a good 10 minutes, and they did the same routine thing,
wow.
Called somebody and called some manager and called coworkers, and they huddled around, and they said, "Ma, Thai hen most workers I'm saying, but you can't do that."
And that's because...
And I didn't want to continue because I had my daughter with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, whatever. We'll just eat it here then."
And that's because...
I don't know. Because they...
Well, you mentioned it.
Because they...
Expiration may have passed.
And they don't trust you that you are adult enough.
Right, that you won't be an idiot.
To know that this milk is off and you shouldn't drink it.
That's something foreigners won't understand until they actually come here.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, because the society like treats its subjects as children.
Yeah.
Like everybody's a 5-year-old here. So if you notice, when all these the construction is happening and there were like 10 guys telling you to walk this path.
Because you're gonna get hurt. And
you're gonna stub your toe, and they've got the red wand and like go this way and that way. Yeah, because you're a child here and you can't make decisions for yourself.
Right. So at this point, I think you should now get into one of these. So I allow you to choose any one of these ladies and expound.
Oh my God.
Up to you. This is uncut, by the way. There's no edits. This is uncut. So you're seeing this live and direct.
Oh my God. You're putting me in the spot
on
here.
The spot.
Oh, sorry. My God. Kyung.
These aren't real names, by the way. These are all
some of them are.
Okay.
Some of them are. Some of them are real first names. Kyung, man. Oh my God. Kyung.
Right, get into it. Go ahead.
Kyung, she was a Korean girl. And she had some fake boobs. Beautiful girl.
Oh yes, I remember.
Beautiful. I met her at the Kobe International something in Sanomiya. And I couldn't get with silicone. You know what I'm saying? Okay. It's not my thing, and I like walking around with her, and I like
the attention you got.
The attention I got from being with this stunningly gorgeous woman, but I just couldn't deal with like the texture of silicone, because I think back in those days, 20 years ago, it wasn't as advanced. I think now you can have silicone that's like it feels natural.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know either, because it's been a while. And she wanted to get married, and she wanted to settle down with her, and I wanted to, but another thing too, her hips were narrower than her.
Oh yeah, her shoulders. Yeah, okay. So you're very picky.
I can't dig that. I need white hips, because that kind of reminds me of it's a boyish body. It's a boy with breasts.
Right.
It's a boy with breasts and a beautiful face. And no. And I remember the last time we saw each other, it was sad. She really sort of not begged, but kind of beseeched, the same thing, implored me to like have sex with her for the last time.
And you did pity out of
pity. And I did it. And
you said that it was really quick. Was it really that quick? Within 2 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, because she was at the Genkan. She was at the doorway.
Entrance, yeah.
She was at the entrance, right? And she's putting on her shoes to leave, and it was kind of like, okay, all right.
Looked you in the eyes and said, "Come on, you can at least try."
Yeah.
Okay. Don't say the name. Just look. This one, the head games.
Oh, okay.
You became a stalker.
Oh
Or
yes,
you almost became a stalker.
yes, I did become a stalker, dude.
And this was because of the psychological games and the bipolar thing, which
Yes.
is common here.
Yes, yeah,
Alright,
yeah.
go ahead.
And I actually fell in love with her. I was
Mm.
madly in love with her, and she was. Oh my! She had an abortion.
Okay.
We were planning on getting married.
Yeah.
In like November or something. We were planning on getting married. I don't remember the details, but she was in the process of going to a wedding in Hawaii.
Yes, yes.
She was going to a friend's wedding in Hawaii, and I got her pregnant. I knocked her up. So I was like, it's like, let's keep the baby. We're gonna get married anyway. And she's like, no, we can't do that because I bought this dress
Mm.
that I have to wear to my friend's wedding in Hawaii, and if I'm pregnant, I won't be able to fit in this dress. So
It's crazy.
let's have an abortion and then get married, and then we can have another child.
That's
And
crazy.
that's when I left her.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, does
The
this
thought
make
process.
sense?
Yeah.
Is this logical to you? And she says, yeah,
Wow.
this is perfectly logical. I bought the dress
It's a
already.
Japan moment, Japan thought process.
It's yeah.
Did her mom really have a heart attack?
I don't know,
Okay.
but she said she did.
Could have been a mind game, right?
Yeah, it could have been. It could have
Okay.
been. But her mother looked like she was a candidate for some kind of mental breakdown.
Okay.
I think so. It might have been, it looked genetic. But yes, Karen.
Easy, you mentioned the name. Okay.
But what wicked? Oh my god! She, even though just a mad girl always have the big boom boom.
I wouldn't know.
Okay. Sorry. I'm sorry. He's a saint. He doesn't know these things.
Actually,
But
I've been told that I attract the crazies, by the way.
No.
My brother said that.
But mad girl, mad woman, the best boom boom, hands down, on the earth. If they're mad, boom boom good.
It's a man experience, so
stay away.
We take your word.
Stay away. They're not wife material. They're not, or parent material. You wouldn't want them to mother your child.
All right. What's the hotelet?
Oh yeah.
What is that?
A hotelet.
How do you define that?
A hotelet. So in Japan, right, public bathrooms, the public handicap bathrooms are massive. They're friggin' big. They're like a Japanese apartment.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably the size of this room. And so it's just a lot of space. It's just like a toilet and space. And these handles that you can hold on to, these grab handles. And so, if you can't afford a love hotel, I would just like grab the girl. No, not grab it. Just direct the girl.
How many times have you used these hotelets? Countless.
I don't know how many times, but I remember the women. It was Azusa and...
you don't have to call names if you don't want.
Yeah. I don't know how many times, but a lot of times, many times.
Okay. So it was a thrill. You did it for the thrill.
Yeah.
Because certainly you had your own apartments. It's not like...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it was just vacant. It was, there was one at every station. So every time I got off the train, I'm coming home with a girl. Let's just hit it before we
But it's
go
not
home.
It's not recommended, by the way, because that was the actor's name.
Right. Somebody just got arrested about 6 months ago.
Was it Ken?
I don't remember his name, but some famous guy got arrested for doing that. And I was like,
Right.
I was thinking, did he read my book? I mean, did he get that idea from me?
So it's not advice. This isn't advice.
Yeah.
All right. That's do at your own risk.
But you can do it anyway. It's nobody will find out. But actually, maybe there are more cameras now than there were.
Yeah.
Back
Cameras
then.
everywhere.
Yeah. So yeah. But that's a hotelet. That's interesting name, by the way. Did I coin that name or did you coin that name?
It's in the book, man. Everything we're talking about, except for the guy in the elevator, is in this book. And probably if you want to throw anything else that's outside of the book, you go ahead. But I'm sticking to this. So that you can't say that I'm putting it on the spot, right? I don't want you to say like I'm trying to frame you in anything, right? So another topic is women finding like other women stuff. Like a lot of guys will say or ask. I'm gonna ask you. When a woman comes over, they like to leave things, not that I know, but they like to leave things
They have to
around
mark
the
their
place.
territory.
Yeah, like pink toothbrush here or whatever.
Right.
What do you do in a situation like that?
I've always been open. I always didn't care.
Mhm.
I'm like, yeah. So Shoko was here 2 nights ago, and yeah. That's it. I understand. You might
And there's
feel
no arguing like,
nah,
oh, you
if
don't
you
love me enough.
if you want to go home now, you can.
the
But
last train's still there.
you know, exactly. So I was never I never conceal anything. I never hid it from them. And in fact, my wife now she'd come over and she would just request that I just put it away before she comes.
All right, so Mr. Bryan is now happily married. We should say that.
I
So
don't know if I'm happily married. Can you be happily married? I mean,
he's now married.
I'm married.
So,
I've been
settle
married.
down.
I've been married for 13 years now, since 2008, since
Okay.
May 24th, 2008. What is
Right.
that? 14 years now? Yeah.
I'm not gonna do maths.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
here to do maths. I'm here to talk to you about the experiences.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm married. Yes, I'm married, and I'm married with a child. I have a 3-year-old now. Yeah. It's and she's in the book. My wife is in the book.
Yeah.
We have this child now. That's things are different now.
Hmm.
Things change. Things change when you become a parent.
Craziest story, not in the book. Your craziest story. For example, fastest meeting, or hey, how are you? And then she's like, oh, hotel, whatever. Fastest, like, pick up, whatever you want to.
And my fastest was like 30 minutes, but that was in America. That was in California. But the craziest story in my book is my friend Chef's story.
Chef, yes. Chef, go ahead.
Chef was in the process of meeting a girl that he'd been speaking to online outside of the Sogo department store. It's no longer there, but it's actually a few meters away from here.
Okay.
So he's in the process of meeting this girl. He goes to the Sogo department store. He sees this girl in the cold, like she's waiting for somebody. Goes up to her. She thinks that he's the person she's waiting on. They both think that each other is the person that they're each waiting on, and they head to a hotel
to talk.
Yeah, to talk, to have discussion. And during their discussion, Chef's phone goes off. You know,
you got an email.
Yeah, you got a text.
By the way, back in the days, actually, emails, like you mentioned email a lot.
Yeah.
Because there was no line and no WhatsApp.
No. It was email on Galapagos phone. Okay. Emails on flip phones, because in Japan, that was the deal.
Yeah.
You could get an email on your regular cell phone. So Chef gets an email from a girl that says, look, it's cold. I've been waiting out here for a while. Where are you?
So who are you?
And so Chef finds some excuse to, like, you know, tell the girl, look, I got to go. My mom's in the hospital or something. Whatever. I don't know. I got to go. I got to get out of here. And leaves the hotel to go.
The girl paid for the hotel?
I don't remember who paid for the hotel.
Okay.
But I mean, that experience, I was like, that could only happen in Japan. It could only happen in Japan.
Yeah.
I don't know if it could happen now, though. Back in 2022.
It could happen now.
It probably could, huh?
Yeah,
because it's Japan.
Details, but yeah,
it could.
Well, I mean, with this mask thing,
yeah, you know, that's a huge game changer, the mask thing.
But anyway, so you mentioned that you wondered what the text messages would be between the girl in the hotel and the man she was supposed to meet.
Right. Yeah. And he's like, I thought about that exchange, you know.
Yeah, tell us, what do you think? She would say what? Like, she would message me and say, where
are you? I mean, and he's like, what are you talking about? I'm here. And she's like, no, but
you left me. Wait, what do you mean? You didn't come to the station. I've been waiting at the station for 2 hours.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I had a situation kind of like that too. I think I wrote about that when I'm ADHD, so I often double booked.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
double booking.
I'm supposed to meet this girl from in Sanomia, and I told her to central exit, and then I told this other girl exit central exit at the same time.
Oh, whoa.
1 o'clock.
Same exit. What happened?
It's the only exit I knew at the time. And
did they bump into each other?
No, I went down and grabbed one and just got the heck out of there. And the other was like, where are you? I've been here for a while. And I took the train from the countryside for 2 hours. And yeah, that was an asshole move, though. I must admit, that was terrible.
But you mentioned an ambassador move.
An ambassador move.
But you mentioned that the surgeon's wife would knock on your door at various hours of the night.
Yes.
Sometimes when you had another girl.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, so what would the girl that's there when she hears the door knocking?
I would just tell her, I don't know what that is.
Well, it's not JP Post.
I don't know what it. Maybe it's like
it's not NHK. No,
it's like NHK at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Not at that time.
I don't know what that is.
And she just ignores that.
Yeah.
Oh, plays
Yeah.
it cool. That's his culture here.
So but the surgeon's wife.
Yeah.
She was. I have a similar situation right now too. Never mind. No.
Let's not get into that.
Let's not.
Let's stick to the book.
Kyoko. Kyoko is her name. Her name is not Kyoko in the book, but she was like 39, and oh my god, busty. Oh, okay.
But you stopped seeing. Why did you stop seeing her?
Oh, I left Japan. I left Japan.
Okay.
Yeah, but I would have continued because I mean, she was. You know that woman's husband would tell her to like put away her breasts and stuff.
Yeah, but you said that
he
she
tell her like cover it up.
But she expected you to pay for the dates. And all
Yes,
that, even though her husband is rich.
Right. She always wanted to go on a date, and it just like I have a situation right now, right, where same thing, and the woman expects me to like not have sex with my wife. She's like, I want you to promise me that you're never gonna have sex with your wife again. I'm like, how naive can these women be? She's 38 years old. I'm like, dude, you're married. You have 3 children. You have a husband.
I mean, I think it's feminine nature to want to be treated special, obviously, and want to be treated by a gentleman. It's a fairy tale. It's a fairy tale ending. Disney.
Yeah, especially in Japan.
Yeah,
yeah.
Disney is such a big thing here. Like,
yeah, it's huge,
so
massive. Everybody's in the princess syndrome.
Yeah,
and them up on some Disney cartoon or Disneyland or something like that.
Right.
That's why nothing Disney comes to my house.
Yeah,
nothing.
All right, we're gonna change a little bit. You mentioned earlier in the book about Karoshi.
Karoshi, yes.
Which is a big problem in Japan, and I mean the work culture. I was asked why did you come to Japan by the TV broadcasting company the other day, and I said because I want to see why Japanese people work so hard. But I didn't realize it was actually a problem where people were actually dying from this thing when I just came. What would you say about that?
It's still present. It's still a phenomenon. It's still here. It's still and. One of the great things about that phenomenon is that it leaves the wives open for.
Great for who? For the ambassadors?
It leaves the wives wide open for the ambassadors because.
No pun intended.
Because while these men are out working 16, 17 hours a day, their wives are unattended and neglected by the millions.
Sounds like a frustrating place.
I can't tell you. And what is frustrating to me about it is that I'm getting old, and there's only one of me, and I'm retired.
Oh, you didn't mention the age since you started.
I did. I think I'm 58.
Oh, you mentioned it in the intro.
Yeah. Okay. So Karoshi, it's not talked about as much as it was like 20 years ago, but it's still a big problem. It's still a huge problem. Dying of overwork, just collapsing at work. Dentsu or suicide.
You just called the company name. It's okay.
Yeah, but it's in the friggin'.
Oh, it's in the paper. Okay.
It's in public.
Okay.
It's in the public. It's in the public atmosphere. So, public environment. Yeah. It's no secret. Dentsu is one of those black companies that overworked. She was like 23 or 24 years old.
Black company. What do you mean black company?
Black company.
We're black men here talking about black companies.
Right. There's a term for oppressive corporations in Japan. Companies that make their employees work unpaid overtime. Yeah. Copious hours of
unethical.
Unpaid overtime. Yeah. Hundreds of hours per week. And Dentsu is one of them. A 23-year-old girl, I forgot her name. She recent graduate from recent university grad, recently started Dentsu, committed suicide because she just couldn't take the pressure of having to work those hours of overtime, but it's still present. It's still a phenomenon. It's still affecting thousands and thousands of workers.
In your book, you mentioned a guy actually hurled over his table, dying right there. 27-year-old guy.
Yeah. One of my students. I work for a company called
Secret,
and one of my students, 27 years old, was
curled over the table
6 days a week, 16 hours a day, 15, 16 hours a day, and he just expired. Heart attack.
Yeah, crazy.
And it happens so common, and nobody talks about it, or they don't do anything about it enough. I mean, or at least they don't really enforce the laws. Apparently, there are rules against working unpaid overtime, but it's not enforced. Like a lot of rules in Japan.
So with that, that's the dark side of Japan. might be hard to imagine the bright side, but you've still been here. So what would you say to someone who's, for example, thinking about coming to Japan? What's the best point of Japan or the good points of Japan? Let's get more positive.
Well, I mean, I don't think anything is negative. Well, about what we've just talked about.
Nothing negative about suicide and overwork and dying at your desk crunch over like this from working 6 days.
Well, I mean, if you're an ambassador, that's really good for you. But but I think one of the positives about Japan, one of the things that I admire about Japan is the aesthetics. You know, because I'm into beauty.
Yeah.
I'm into design and beauty, and I like beautiful things. I like beautiful people.
Yeah.
I like beautiful architecture. I like beautiful everything. And Japan, Japanese society, beauty and wa are among the tenets that this society really deems as extremely important. So it's not just a trash can. It has to be a beautiful, well-designed trash can.
Right.
So I love the aesthetics of Japan. And another thing I really love about Japan is the interpersonal civility. Like, if a Jamaican man step on your foot accidentally, and I'm like,
yo.
Right? And like, dude, I'm sorry, I just accidentally stepped on your foot. But in Japan, if you're on the train and you step on somebody's foot on the train, there's a significant chance that they're not going to move their foot because they don't want to bring your attention to the fact that you're accidentally stepping
Tatemae.
on their foot.
Tatemae is
And because they're just thinking, look, if I come off my foot, the train's gonna stop and he's gonna come off my foot.
Yeah.
And we're gonna, and I'm like, wow, that's.
I had a guy shoulder me, Yokohama Station, and old man, if you're watching this, hey, that's not gonna happen again. But yeah, what's the most physical you've gotten in since you've been here?
I've been shouldered too, like boom, opposite direction.
Did you fight?
He was far. I was on my way to work, and I didn't have the time.
So you've never been in a fight?
I've never been in. No.
Okay.
No, I've never been in a fight in Japan. I've never. No, but I've had some confrontations.
Okay.
Even with the Yakuza, in fact. But I chose not to fight.
So yeah, I mentioned Tatemae. Tatemae is like putting on a veil.
Right. As opposed to Honne.
Yeah. So do you think that's hypocritical, or do you think it's a good point?
Oh my God! It's sanctioned, socially sanctioned hypocrisy.
Okay.
So that's what Tatemae is, and that's how they. That's one of the methods of sort of greasing the wheels and the gears of society by being hypocritical. So when you're talking to a Japanese person, you know, especially like in business, it happens in business a lot, right? You don't know if they really want this contract,
right?
You know, it takes some alcohol to find out if it's Tatemae or Honne, because they're more likely to speak the truth, Honne, under some liquor.
Like that racist guy that mentioned.
Right.
We're above, but certainly.
Right.
Who is above us, but we are certainly above.
Exactly.
Above.
Yeah. And he was drinking.
Yeah.
So, but Japan has some really positive aspects, and that's why we're back with raising my 3-year-old.
You have an exit strategy.
Yeah. I'm gonna be leaving here when she turns 11, which is April 2031.
It'll be a sad place after Mr. Bryan is gone.
No, I think please come because I retire. By then, I'm old and I'm almost dead.
There'll be more space for more ambassadors to come in.
Yeah, and by then, hopefully, the masking, the ubiquitous masking will be over by then.
But there's been no mandate in Japan.
There's no mandate.
Nothing in the law.
No.
But
95% mask compliance.
Why?
It's
Where's my mask? We should probably wear the mask here.
Yeah,
keep safe. Just kidding.
The reason why mask compliance is so high in Japan is because Japan is a very high self-monitoring society. Japanese people are concerned about their perception of other people's perception of them.
Yeah.
So they're concerned about the judgment that other people will pass on them if they're not wearing a mask or wearing an ago mask, the chin diaper, to imply that yes, they are complying to a certain extent, even though the mask is not on their face. Right. So you see that they're wearing a mask even in their cars by themselves. It's
crazy. For me, that's so like I'm keeping safe from the virus in my car with my windows up.
Yeah. That's kind of like I was saying that's kind of like masturbating with a condom on. It doesn't make any sense. So I don't wear a mask unnecessarily.
The train, you don't wear it?
I wear a mask in the train, yes.
Okay, but that's just to prevent people from.
No. Like I said, I don't wear a mask unnecessarily. I wear a mask when it's absolutely necessary.
Lights
And
bright.
I don't put my kid in a mask
Mm.
unnecessarily. But so I do wear a mask in public transportation.
Okay.
That's
I only wear it because you know, the other day a friend and I were in the train. A black American friend of mine and an elderly Indian guy came on. So I was wearing my mask. My friend wasn't. And this guy is confronting him saying, "Why aren't you wearing a mask? You should do the right thing. You're in Japan. You should follow the rule."
an Indian guy.
Yes.
Said it?
And I'm like,
The fuck off.
no, we're getting there. But
Ah.
I was like, if we were Japanese, he wouldn't have said that.
Exactly right.
So there's this peer pressure in Japan that people comply because you know
Yes.
they don't want to bother other people, or
Right.
people are going to be staring at them a
Right,
certain way.
right.
And that's only in Japan that happens.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Mm.
Right. So if I don't wear my mask, I don't really see who's staring at me.
Right.
Right. So I'm not gonna wear a mask outside when I'm walking in the street.
Yeah.
If I sort of calculate, if I use my judgment and the viral load is not that great, the place is the ventilation is good, windows are open.
Yeah.
If I go to the gym and there's only like 2 of us in the gym, I'm not wearing a mask.
My gym is so strict on that, you know. Like they're
Really?
checking the cameras and
You gotta wear a mask.
they call them mask police.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
Really?
It's hard to get a good workout. Yeah, especially with the cardio thing we're talking
What
about.
gym is that?
Let's not.
Oh, you can't. Okay.
You know, I told you earlier off camera.
Oh yeah.
But at least you don't have to change shoes.
Yeah, but
You have to change shoes.
Yeah. It's an American gym too, so I mean, you wouldn't. It's an American brand. So
Right. So you pick your evil, right? You pick
Yeah.
yeah. All right. So I feel like we should probably wrap up with depression and exercise. Like when
Okay.
topic of
Okay.
exercise.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were at a very low point, and you said, "Okay, Your friend invited you for workouts, and then you felt really good after 4 weeks."
Yeah. After a month. Yeah.
So please.
Yeah. So I've been suffering from depression since I was about 4 years old, and had several attempts at suicide. First at 9, and then like I said off camera before, when I got my license in Colorado and started driving, my behavior was parasuicidal. So I had many major accidents that I would just miraculously walk away from unscathed. And when I was around 35, yeah, around 35, a friend of mine, I can call his name, Ricky Marciano.
Oh. Hey, Ricky.
Ricky, thank you. Jano, Saga boy, thank you. He dragged me to the gym, kicking and screaming. I opposed, I objected, I fucking matter with a straw, me not glad gym.
Whoa.
Me no gym business, me no want to gym with you at all. But in the end, he thought I was a Jamaican, so I was gonna be macho, and I in the end I had to save face. I went to the gym with him. I'm like, all right, I'm glad gym with you. So I thought, let me just give it a week, and then I'll tell him to the 7 game. And I just didn't have the balls. Really, it all came down to I didn't have the courage to tell him that I didn't want to go to the gym. I didn't want to continue. And then when I finally developed the courage after the fourth week, I decided, you know what? I'll tell you, you say, yo, me nah come back.
Not working.
This not working. Me nah come back on a bad gym with you.
Yeah.
Go out to the gym yourself. I gotta find somebody to go to the gym with. After the fourth week, man, it's exactly like I wrote in the book. It was like I was ejected. It was like a fighter pilot being ejected from a doomed aircraft. It felt like that.
Whoa.
And, the exercise did for me what Prozac couldn't, Paxil couldn't, Wellbutrin couldn't, because they all made me feel more depressed and more suicidal.
Yeah.
And the exercise, and I tell people, look, give it some time. The only thing with exercise versus medication, exercise takes time, depending on the level of your depression. If your depression is mild, you can run around the block 2 times and get the endorphins to flow fast, But if your depression is like ongoing, like mine, for years, decades, you're gonna need to get in there at least for 30 days.
You said cardio is cardio or weightlifting?
I would say cardio initially. Cardio would get the endorphins flowing, but both of them, because even now I'm not doing a lot of cardio, but I'm doing more weights than cardio.
Yeah.
Because of an injury, and I still feel the effects of the ebb and flow. I still feel better when I get out of the gym.
As a man, you said the gym, working out. Sorry, not gym. Working out builds testosterone.
Dude,
puts you in a better mood.
that is Viagra. It's Viagra.
Okay.
It's completely Viagra. Forget about the little blue pill. Just do some exercise, some rigorous exercise. Because every time I come to the gym, my wife is cowering. She's like, "Oh my God, he's coming home!" Ching, 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 ching,
That
ching.
sounds great.
Yeah. So if you're having a down moment and if you like you need to go and take a pill, the gym, man, exercise. It works wonders. And I'm not getting paid to do this. This is from my personal experience. And I had a huge problem, a massive problem with depression.
But once again, to kind of pronounce it, I want you to look into the camera and give the young men, well, not just young men, any man who is severely depressed, please go ahead and encourage him
absolutely.
to do some exercise. Get off the couch, do some exercise.
Yeah. It's
looking
the hardest
directly
thing.
into the lens.
It's the hardest thing to do. I know, because when I started going to therapy at 23 years old, one of the first things that my therapist mentioned was exercise. And he's like, Stefhen, you should really start exercising. And I was like, no. But it is not something that you want to do because you're depressed and you're suicidal and you want to jump off a bridge and jump from the train. But trust me, for your penis's sake, for your manhood's sake, because once you get out of the gym, I've been doing all that cardio and lifting all those weights, your testosterones are going to go friggin' through the roof. And you're just, I didn't think I'm a rapist.
No.
Because in my case, you put a skirt on a light pole when I get off the gym, and the light pole is getting torn up. All right. So exercise. I can't recommend this enough. I mean, exercise saved my life and is continuing to, because I still suffer from depression, but it's managed with exercise.
All right. Thank you very much, because I think it's not spoken about enough. It's not. People, there's a term, mentioned, man up and all that.
Yeah. Especially among us Africans, black people. Brethren, we are descendants of slaves. I mean, it's no small wonder that a lot of us have mental issues. I mean, we're like the most oppressed group on the planet, for God's sake. So when you meet a black man that is mentally ill, you can think, yeah, of course, the shit that black people have to go through. No wonder. Right. Yeah, I can understand this. But especially in Jamaica now, we come from a culture where that is definitely not mentioned. That's definitely not talked about. Man, my sister in, where she was 10 years old when she tried to kill herself in Jamaica.
Yeah.
By hanging herself.
Whoa.
And when our mother catch her, our mother caught her outside, cut her down, cut the rope down, and proceeded to beat out of her. Right? I'm like, yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
Wow.
So it's there. We're suffering. Our children are suffering. When I tell people that I started suffering from depression at 4, and I wanted to kill myself at 4 years old, you read about this in the newspaper in Japan all the time. These kids, these elementary school kids, are offing themselves, and people are wondering, how is that happening? How can that be? Like, no. Kids are intuitive. Kids have feelings and emotions. One of the things I'm going to be monitoring with my child right now, since she's probably genetically predisposed.
Yeah, is to be able to communicate.
Right. It's her feelings, to understand, to see when there's any change in her feelings and her expressions, and monitor that very closely.
Right.
But yeah, exercise, gym, find somebody to go with, run up and down, bust a sweat, play football or something.
So much to cover in this book.
And Do the Boy, we need to talk about Do the Boy.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So I did a solo play called Do the Boy. You've seen it.
I've watched it. I watched it twice.
You watched it on the way here. It's a new website, doodooboy.com. DOODU.
Doodoo. What is doodoo?
Doodoo. Shit. It's
Jamaican
what Americans call doo-doo.
Okay.
But we Jamaicans said doo-doo. DOODU boy.com. So, and it's called Do the Boy because when I was about 6 years old, I fell in a cesspool.
Yeah.
And that's the name that stuck to me.
Right.
It came out in the newspapers. It came out in the Star, I think.
Okay.
And that's the name that stuck with me. So you were able to watch it on your phone?
Yeah, on the phone and train.
And it looked good. The quality is good. And...
Yeah. I'll tell you off here.
Okay.
So where can people find you?
I'm everywhere.
Socials.
I am on Facebook. Stefhen FD Bryan. STFHEN FD Bryan. I'm doodooboy.com. I'm on YouTube, blackpassenger.com. I'm in Instagram, Dudu_boy, at Dudu_boy, at DOODU_BOY. I was on Twitter, but the whole Elon Musk thing right now, I'm jumping off because I've lost my respect for Mr. Mr. Trump Musk, Elon Trump. So yeah, link me up.
And
Shoot me a
very,
message.
very accessible. Right, responds very quickly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because I mean, I'm very open to connecting with people because if I
Right,
can,
right.
you know, especially, you know, a lot of times people come to me and tell me that I've saved their lives.
Yeah.
Like, and it really is touching to me. So my work is done. That's all I want to do.
And I'm really happy once again that you took the time to do this interview.
Thanks for inviting me, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for
In the flesh.
the dude
We're gonna do this
on a
over
train.
Zoom, but
he jumped on a train from Tokyo.
Kobe.
From Tokyo to Kobe.
From Utsunomiya to Tochigi.
Yeah.
Which is even further.
Tochigi to Kobe to do this.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, yeah, I moved. I moved. ちょっと感動します。
Any final words before we close? Any last thing?
No, just live your life vicariously through yourself.
So be the real you, not the cover of.
Yeah, and talk about it, whatever it is. You know, it'll save your life.
All right. Thanks for watching. You heard it here. Please leave your comments, what you thought, any questions you have. You know, we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah, man.